Hello.
Hello, everyone. We have another guest in GamerGate for fourth edition of GamerGate Interview.
Howdy.
Today we have Jack with us. You can I put his Twitter handle if you want to reach him on Twitter. Even though he said himself he doesn't use it much. So let's get started with the first question. How did you get into GamerGate?
Well, just a preference. I was distrusting of game reviews long before Gamergate happened. I say this started, I guess, in '09 when a game called Monster Madness hit the stores. It was from South Peak, and I enjoyed that game immensely. But it seemed like every review had some nitpicking problem with it, to the point where it was just absurd. I think it averages a 40, but the user review is higher than that. It's 60 to 80. And so I started distancing myself from reviews. And then I got further and further away, realizing that, and you can actually look back to Aliens Colonial Marines, where that game was hyped to hell and back by gaming journalism sites, and what did it amount to? The trailer was a lie. The demo was a lie. The pre-articles that were written for it were falsified or quantifiably wrong. So I can't trust places like IGN and Kotaku or Polygon to give an honest opinion on a product when my money is at stake. So that's why I had to retreat to YouTube and look at just some random content creators playthrough, or listen to either Angry Joe or the Cynical Brit, or any number of reviewers. And I suppose what got me into Gamergate when it actually happened, this was probably early October or late August, was the Internet Aristocrats video about the whole conspiracy. And it was so odd that everybody was focusing on the developer Quinn, when really it was Nathan Grayson who was the party. Both of these parties were at fault here. But I believe that Grayson was more in breach of that than Quinn. So that's what really got me into it. And just saying, hey, our media is flagrantly corrupt, so much so that they will protect unethical behavior and silence any disdaining opinions on the subject. So that's what got me into it. And I've been hammering against journalism sites to update their ethical policies, or at least opine or disclose the relationships. Because I may not visit these sites as frequent anymore, but I know that a lot of people will. So there needs to be some form of honesty when they're opining on games.
All right. And currently, what are you doing within the hashtag?
What am I doing currently? Well, I'm looking at sites like The Escapist and IGN, and just making sure that they stay in line with the policies.
Do you send emails or anything else?
I can't really think of any large media outlet that doesn't have a ethical disclosure clause in them. So now I'm just looking out for breaches in ethics, or people that try and spin a game like you saw. Have you seen the Polygon review of The Witcher 3?
Yeah, I've seen the most horrific parts, and I talked about it on one of my streams, and yeah, that's a terrible one.
Yes. So and I'm looking out for stuff like that.
All right. What do you think of it, of GamerGate currently?
Well, the Facebook group is just uh, posting whatever can be relevant to Gamergate or indeed any kind of ethical breach at the moment where, and it may move on to movie reviews because we just saw the Mad Max. There was a whole slew of people saying, if you don't watch this, then you're an MRA. And I'm like, listen, I'm not interested in Mad Max. I haven't been since I was probably 12 years old and I saw Beyond the Thunderdome. But I did see the trailer and I did see reviews of it, and it doesn't sound like it's feminist propaganda. So I'm just wondering, why would someone say that? That it's pissing MRAs off? And more to the point, why should we care?
Yeah, I've seen multiple. Well, we talked about that UIT thing where suddenly GamerGate got name dropped out of the sudden, together with MRAs in the same sentence. So
We're not in the same group, though we might have a few issues that we agree on, such as anti-censorship and free rights for all. But I don't believe we are a majority of the same group. We're not geared towards the same like subjects.
right, and what do you think GamerGate is going to morph into the future? Do you think it's gonna become some sort of watchdog or organization or anything like that?
We might become watchdogs, and yeah, I think that's what we're going to be doing. I mean, that's what we're doing now, and hopefully what we'll continue to do until either video games are completely destroyed or gaming journalism dies, which either one of those might happen. As we all know, the gaming industry is in a bubble at the moment.
True. Um, and if you could change one particular thing, say you're king for in GamerGate for one day, what would you change? You're only speaking for yourself, of course.
Yes.
What would you improve upon and change in GamerGate to make it better, in your opinion?
How do I put this? What would I change about it? I wish that it wasn't portrayed wholly as anti-woman or anti-progressive as it is. I wish that that wasn't like an integrated portrayal of what we are. Now, I am a right winger, and I'm probably the only right wing person in the entire movement because it seems to be mainly a divide between authoritarian and libertarian. And it just seems that, how do I put this? People who have a vested interest in being victims of Gamergate have constantly inserted themselves into this discussion, even though they're not even remotely relevant. These people are not journalists, they're not viable critics, they're not particularly relevant. And I believe that they're just beneath the whole movement. So why should we care about what they do or say?
Would you also perhaps change the infighting?
Infighting, well, when you have a group of everyone, and this is sort of the flaws of multiculturalism, you're going to have inevitable fighting.
Yeah, true. And what do you think so far GamerGate has done right, in your opinion?
Well, it has gotten game sites to disclose relationships. Leigh Alexander, the most anti-gamer I can think of, has stepped down from Gama Sutra, even though I wish Gama Sutra would just go completely under, because they're like the tabloids you find at the beginning of the checkout aisle at a grocery store. It doesn't matter like if the sources they report on are viable, so long as it gets clicks and it stirs up controversy, they'll publish it. And that's one achievement. There's been a dozen others, such as the disclosure at The Escapist. Movie Bob has left, Jim Sterling has left, and they've been replaced, and Jim's doing fine on the YouTube, which, good for him. He can talk up a storm there however he pleases. It's his channel. And there's now disclosing of ethics within the Escapist, the IGN, even in Polygon. Even though Polygon still has a huge bias, it's progress.
Yeah, true. I had a question from Magic Bubblehead. Do you subscribe to any ideology? And if yes, what does that ideology involve?
What ideology do I prescribe to? I prescribe to this own ideology. Life is predicated on conflict. Everything from the smallest blade of grass to the largest star in the heavens is vying for its right to exist. So why, in the name of God, are we fighting for peace when life itself is predicated on conflict? That's my ideology.
All right. And I think this is more.
But I'm pretty much open for anything, really.
All right.
I was an atheist for 20 years. I switched over to Christianity, so talk that on.
All right. It's probably more a humorous question. Do you avoid people with dyed hair, or did you have any prejudice against people with dyed hair?
Do I have a prejudice against people with dyed hair? No, my mother and my sister have been dyeing their hair for 40 years.
I think it's more like people with blue or pink hair. Or...
Yeah, jump in a manga. Really,
Yeah.
I don't care what color you dye your hair. No, it doesn't enhance your personality in the slightest.
Yeah, true. You can or you can see if you I don't know if you've seen the David Pacman interviews. You see the difference in how people look when they're on the GamerGate versus aggros.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that.
Well, there was that normal-looking chap. What was his name? He was former football player.
Chris Clue.
Clue something. Yeah, he's probably the only aggro I can think of that looks vaguely normal and actually doesn't wear like hipster glasses. I mean, these are real glasses. I can't see shit without these.
Yeah, but you see the see the difference between the both sides. Yeah. Oh, and here's another question from Magic Bubblehead. What's your favorite game?
I have so many games that I played like 100 games in my lifetime. But I would have to say my favorite game, unequivocally, is a little gem from Atlas called Org Battle 64. And that came out in 1999, I believe. And I still have the cartridge, and I have it on the virtual console on the Wii because I like it that much. And that's my favorite strategy game. I'd say my favorite game right now is probably Bloodborne. Even though it seems like half the RPG that Dark Souls 2 was, I still enjoy it just as much.
All right. I talked to someone yesterday a little bit about this, but what would you say would be the best way to talk to aggros at all? To get some sort of debate, not just aggros as people like Brianna Wu, but aggros like journalists as well.
I don't think they want to debate, to be honest. Like, you saw how they reacted to that one developer who pleaded for there to be a discussion. This was probably, I guess, 3 months ago. And you saw they absolutely slandered the poor guy. And it's like, I don't think they want to have a discussion because they are in the wrong. There's no way to spin it or really defend this sort of behavior.
So you don't think there's any way we can have any conversation?
Don't get me wrong, but it just seems like the aggros do not want to talk.
I'm not agreeing with you. I'm just asking you.
Okay.
Because I had the kind of the same position, because I don't think they don't want to talk either. As far as
talk with one of them, at least one that's not insane.
Yeah, because I've had so far only one, I think, on who's actually accepted to come on and talk. But I don't think you know this person, but the one I had previously on, he said the only way we would probably have someone else on from the other side is to have a massive handicap for them.
What kind of handicap?
Like if it were hangouts, it would be 9 against 1, or if it was a debate, we would like, for example, have 10 minutes on a subject, and they would have 20 minutes to get a little more handicapped. He thought that would be the only way to get them on. Would you?
Well, if they can get 9 of their friends together, then sure. Or I don't know. I don't know if Google Hangout can support 20 people.
No, 10 at most. But like 9 versus 1, he would say, because his point was that people in GamerGate would debunk them by using facts.
Well, yeah, we would. It's like, we would debunk them with facts. So I don't understand it. Like,
basically, I don't think they want that, even if they had a massive handicap. Because I don't think they want to discuss it at all. Because so far, from what I've experienced and seen, I don't think they want to even meet us in any certain way, online or face to face.
Yeah, I tried to meet up with the GamerGate thing in Austin, but I never got a reply back. So, yeah, what can you do?
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna see if there is more, anything more from the chat.
I'm probably the least eloquent person in GamerGate, though.
I know. there have been people who are quite concise in their answers. It's just just giving people a platform to talk stuff. Is there anything before we close this? Is there anything you think should be highlighted or be discussed more?
What needs to be discussed more is that corruption in media does not solely take place in games journalism. It takes place in comic books, it takes place in movies, it takes place in even politics. And I hope that there will be objectiveness throughout media, or in how many years that will take. But corruption and collusion is not solely just in video game journalism. It's widespread.
Do you think GamerGate is going to branch out and become more?
I hope it does branch out, but I can't see like Ultras 2 doing that.
Yeah, I mean we have enough with games already, but I think it's going to be I think it's going to spread. I mean, just look at the whole.
I recently saw an interview with my senator Ted Cruz, and he was interviewed by an MSNBC sort of commentator, and asked, "Do you have a prejudice against homosexuals?" He's like, "No. What kind of fucking stupid question is that? Do you have animosity towards Christians? What is this?" But he said it a little clearer and less vulgar than I did. But he did bring up that if you want to talk about gay rights, you should talk about where there's actual persecution. Like ISIS just this week expanded their territory and executed 200 homosexuals.
Damn.
So yeah, I believe that the LGBT should reserve their ire for places where it's actually going on, where true oppression, not just that a pastor won't put a ring on both your fingers, which is in violation of the Constitution, might I add, the 15th Amendment, involuntary service.
Yeah.
So
here in Scandinavia, if a pastor doesn't want to marry, you can just go to another one.
yeah, we have a similar thing here in Texas. After the Supreme Court, the pricks, actually signed over, like, invalidated our Texas Constitution, we had to make up a House bill that would put clergymen and people who do not want to participate in gay marriages as a protected class. And it's similar to Indiana's law, except like it's double reinforced by our own involuntary service amendment. So
Alright.
I've kind of gone off track here.
No, it's okay. I had one more question. Which your favorite console?
Favorite console? I'd say that my fondest memories were on the PS2, because that was a console that I learned how to actually hack and use like ports and ROMs and the Game Shark, and got really heavy into like updating Resident Evil 4 for a while. But when the 360 came out, I kind of dropped the habit because apparently it's illegal or something to mod or hack your 360. I don't know, it was stupid.
Alright. Also, I think we're gonna wrap up with the last question. What do people identify by what they are and not what they do?
Repeat the question?
Why do people identify by what they are and not what they do?
Well, they obviously didn't study MLK in school.
True.
You're judged by the conduct of your character, not by the color of your skin, whether you're white, black, purple-haired, or otherwise. And I just think that people who say, "Oh, I'm such and such other kin," it's like, no, you have such few struggles in this life that you have to make up your own, and it's just gender politics, and I have zero patience for it.
Yeah, and the identity politics as well.
Yes, or identity politics.
Yeah, the last we can end on a more humorous note. Should we create a real Gamergate on Mars?
I intend to be one of the sacrificial first.
All right. Let's end on that humorous note. Thank you everyone for watching. You can reach Jack on Twitter, and put it in the description.
Just look up Jack A. Pewitt on Facebook because that's where I'm most active.
Yeah, and you're in the Ultras group, so yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I want to thank you for coming on. Thanks everyone for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye.